Dear listeners, we're back with a new story. Get ready for cheating, revenge, and wild relationship drama. It was one of those mornings where everything felt almost perfect. The sun was just starting to warm the autumn air, filling the house with a soft, golden light. I stood by the kitchen counter, sipping my coffee and watching Liam zoom around the living room, making truck noises with his favorite toy. His energy was infectious, and I found myself smiling despite the weariness that had settled in me lately. "Daddy, can we go to the park?" Liam's voice broke through my thoughts, his wide eyes full of hope. He bounced on his toes, holding the toy truck up as if that would seal the deal. "We can play soccer." I couldn't say no to him, not when he looked at me like that. "Of course, buddy. Let's get ready." As we packed up his soccer ball, snacks, and a blanket, I couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia. The park wasn't just any park, it was our place. It was where I had taken Liam when he was still a baby, cradling him in my arms as we strolled through the paths. Every inch of that place held a memory, his first wobbly steps, the countless hours on the swings, and the way he used to fall asleep on the blanket under the big oak tree. I hoped today would be like old times. Once we arrived, I parked near the playground and grabbed our things. Liam, already brimming with excitement, raced ahead, shouting, "I'll meet you by the swings, Dad. Be careful, Liam." I called after him, smiling as I watched him disappear around a corner. The park was fairly empty, with just a few families scattered about. It was peaceful, the kind of quiet that made you want to breathe a little deeper. I took my time setting up the blanket under the familiar oak tree, stretching out and watching as Liam climbed the jungle gym. The laughter of children mixed with the sound of rustling leaves. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting myself relax. It felt good to be here, away from the tension that had been building at home. But then I heard a familiar laugh, Sarah's. My body went cold. It was a sound I knew well, but lately, it had felt more like a distant echo, something she saved for other people, not me. I opened my eyes and scanned the park. There, not far from where Liam was playing, was Sarah. And she wasn't alone. She was walking, her arm brushing against Brian's, our neighbor from 2 houses down. They weren't holding hands, but the closeness between them, the way they leaned toward each other, made my stomach churn. I froze, rooted to the spot, watching them like a bad dream unfolding in real time. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. They're just friends, right? She's mentioned Brian before. But no matter how I tried to rationalize it, the sight of them together felt wrong. Deep down, I knew. This wasn't just a walk. This wasn't just friendly. As they passed near the swings where Liam was playing, I saw Sarah glance toward him, but she didn't stop. She didn't call out to him. She just kept walking, completely absorbed in her conversation with Brian. I stood up, my fists clenched at my sides. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel the heat rising to my face. I didn't even know what I wanted to do, shout at them, demand an explanation, or just disappear. But I couldn't let this go. Not after everything we'd been through. I took a step forward, my pulse racing, but then Liam's voice cut through the noise in my head. "Dad! Can you push me on the swings?" I turned to him, forcing a smile onto my face. "Yeah, buddy. I'm coming." I couldn't let Liam see me like this, angry, confused. He didn't deserve that. Not now, not ever. As I walked toward him, trying to mask the storm inside, I kept an eye on Sarah and Brian. They were heading toward the far side of the park, where the path looped around the pond. I could see them laughing, their heads close together. It felt like a punch to the gut. The woman I'd loved, the mother of my child, was betraying me. And she didn't even care enough to hide it. "Higher, Dad." Liam's voice snapped me back to reality as I started to push him on the swing. I gave the swing a gentle push, trying to focus on him, on the joy in his face. "You got it, buddy. Higher it is," As he laughed and kicked his legs, I couldn't shake the image of Sarah and Brian. The betrayal wasn't just about her, it was about our family. About Liam. My hands tightened around the swing's chains. Sarah. I whispered to myself, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. What have you done? Later, after Liam had worn himself out on the playground and was busy munching on a granola bar, I sat on the blanket, watching the horizon. Sarah and Brian hadn't come back yet, and I had no idea how to confront her. A part of me wanted to wait for her at the park entrance, demand answers right there. But what would that do to Liam? Could I keep it together long enough to shield him from the ugly truth? As Liam ran over with crumbs on his shirt, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a message from Sarah. Working late again tonight. See you in the morning. Don't wait up. I stared at the screen, the words blurring in my vision. I had just seen her at the park with another man, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. The lie was right there, in front of me. How many more times had she lied like this? The anger that had simmered all day finally boiled over. I clenched the phone in my hand, fighting the urge to scream. But I couldn't, not in front of Liam. Daddy? Can we go home now? Liam tugged at my sleeve, his voice soft. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Yeah, buddy. Let's go home. The drive home felt like a lifetime. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white, as the familiar streets blurred by. Liam chatted happily about his day, recounting every detail about the swings, the little girl he'd played with, and the snacks he couldn't get enough of. I smiled and nodded, but inside, I was a whirlwind of confusion and anger. Daddy, can we go back to the park tomorrow? Liam asked, his excitement palpable. Sure, buddy. We'll see, I replied, forcing my voice to sound cheerful. The thought of returning to that park, knowing what had happened there, filled me with dread. When we finally pulled into the driveway, I noticed Sarah's car parked in its usual spot. My heart sank. I'd hoped to avoid her for at least a little longer, to gather my thoughts and figure out what to say. But now, there was no escaping it. Liam bounded out of the car and ran into the house, oblivious to the storm brewing in my mind. I took a deep breath before stepping inside, preparing myself for the confrontation that loomed ahead. Hey! You're home early. Sarah called from the kitchen, her voice bright and cheerful, a stark contrast to the heavy weight of betrayal in my chest. I forced a smile, clenching my teeth. Yeah, took Liam to the park. I couldn't keep my gaze steady as I entered the kitchen, the smell of something baking wafting through the air. She was trying to maintain her usual facade, but it felt hollow. Oh, nice. Did you have fun? She leaned against the counter, a flour-covered apron tied around her waist. I could see she hadn't changed since the morning, a casual look that seemed almost too carefree given what I had seen. Yeah, he had a blast, I said, my voice flat. But I need to talk to you. Talk. About what? She asked, her tone shifting slightly as she noticed the seriousness in my expression. I glanced at Liam, who was busy in the living room, lost in his toys. Can we do this in private? Sure, Sarah said, her brow furrowing in confusion. She followed me into the living room, and I closed the door behind us, creating a small bubble of privacy. Sarah, I saw you at the park today, I started, trying to keep my voice steady, but it cracked under the weight of my words. With Brian. Her face paled slightly, and I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. Oh, that. We were just talking. Talking? Is that what you call it? I felt my anger bubbling to the surface. Because it didn't look like just talking to me. You were practically glued to him. I was just being friendly, she protested, raising her hands defensively. You know how I am with neighbors. I can't help it if Brian is nice. I scoffed, struggling to contain the fury coursing through me. You're having an affair, Sarah. I saw the way you looked at him. How you laughed. This isn't just about being friendly. That's not fair. She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. You're jumping to conclusions without knowing the whole story. What story could possibly justify what I saw? You've been distant for months. What do you expect me to think? I ran a hand through my hair, frustration mounting. You haven't even been home much. You just text me that you're working late, but I see you out with Brian. Maybe I've been stressed, she shot back, her voice rising. I'm trying to balance everything, and it's not easy. You think I wanted it to end up like this? End up like what? I snapped. You think I want this? You think I want to feel like a fool? Because that's how I feel right now. Tears glistened in her eyes, and for a moment, I thought I saw regret. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she said, her voice softening. But it's not what you think. I love you, do you? I asked, my voice low, barely containing the hurt. Because right now, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like betrayal. We stood there, the air thick with unspoken words, as the reality of our situation settled in. I turned away, my chest tight with a mix of anger and heartbreak. I don't know how to fix this, Sarah. Please, don't give up on us, she pleaded, stepping closer. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I shook my head, feeling a mixture of sadness and resolve. I can't just ignore what I saw. It's not that simple anymore. Trust is shattered, and I don't know if we can rebuild it. With that, I walked past her, leaving her standing there, her face a mixture of disbelief and desperation. I needed to gather my thoughts, to plan my next move. As I entered the den, I spotted Liam still playing with his toys, completely unaware of the turmoil brewing just outside the door. I sat down on the couch, my heart heavy. I wanted to protect him from all of this. But I also needed to protect myself. I knew I had to take action. This wasn't just about my heartbreaking, it was about our family, our future. As night fell, I paced back and forth, the weight of my decision pressing on me. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts, finally stopping at Ethan's name. I hit call and waited, my heart racing. Ethan. I need your help. Of course, what's going on? His voice was calm, reassuring. I want to talk about custody. I need to know my options. Custody. Is everything okay? He paused, sensing the gravity in my voice. Not even close, I replied, feeling the floodgates begin to open. Sarah's cheating on me, and I want full custody of Liam. Let's meet and talk strategy. I'll help you figure this out, Ethan said, his tone shifting to one of urgency. Thanks, I said, my voice steadying slightly. I'll need it. As I hung up, I felt a strange sense of clarity amid the chaos. I wouldn't let her betrayal take away my son. I was ready to fight for him, no matter what it took. The next few days blurred into a haze of meetings, legal jargon, and sleepless nights. I immersed myself in research about custody arrangements, determined to understand every aspect of what lay ahead. My phone buzzed constantly with reminders of appointments and calls, but my focus remained unwavering. Liam's well-being was my priority, and I was willing to fight tooth and nail for him. Ethan and I met at a small cafe, the kind of place that had an old-world charm, but I barely noticed it. I slid into a booth, my heart racing as I waited for him to arrive. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I was about to embark on a battle I never wanted to fight, but I had to. Hey, man, Ethan said as he joined me, sliding a steaming cup of coffee in my direction. How are you holding up? I'm surviving, I replied, taking a deep breath. I just don't know how things got so bad, so fast. I get it, he said, leaning back in his seat, concern etched across his face. You need to focus on what matters now. We'll go over the custody options, but I need you to be clear on what you want. What's your goal? I stared out the window, watching the world pass by. I want full custody of Liam. Sarah's behavior, it's not just a phase. She's been unfaithful, and I can't trust her to put him first. Ethan nodded, taking notes. Good. We'll use that. The courts typically favor the parent who can provide a stable environment. Do you have any evidence of her infidelity? Not yet, but I'm working on it, I said, the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. I plan to hire a private investigator. Smart move, he said, looking impressed. You need concrete proof. But remember, we can't just attack her character in court. We need to present a case that shows you can provide a better home for Liam. Right, I agreed, the weight of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. It's just hard knowing that she doesn't see how her actions affect him. Stay focused on Liam. That's the key, Ethan encouraged. Let's set up a plan for gathering evidence and building your case. We'll make sure you're ready for whatever comes next. As we continued discussing strategies, my phone buzzed again, a message from Sarah. Can we talk? I want to work things out. I hesitated, my heart racing. She wants to talk, I said, showing Ethan the message. She thinks this can be fixed just like that. Don't let her manipulate you, Ethan warned, his tone firm. She might be trying to pull you back in to keep you off guard. You need to stay strong. Yeah, I know, I sighed. But I hate the idea of this being dragged out in front of a judge. I want to resolve it without hurting Liam more than necessary. That's noble, but you have to prioritize his safety, Ethan reminded me. Don't forget what you saw. If she's willing to betray your trust, you have to protect yourself and your son. I nodded, the determination swelling within me. You're right. I need to be prepared for anything. As we wrapped up our meeting, I felt a mix of resolve and dread. I had a long road ahead, but I was committed to fighting for Liam, no matter what it took. Days turned into weeks as I began gathering evidence and preparing for the impending court battle. I hired a private investigator, who promised to keep a low profile while observing Sarah. The thought of someone else watching her, documenting her every move, sent chills down my spine, but I knew it was necessary. One evening, after a long day at work, I received a call from Ethan. We need to talk. The investigator has some information, he said, his voice serious. I met Ethan at his office, my heart pounding with anticipation. What did he find? I asked, my hands clammy. He caught Sarah meeting with Brian multiple times, Ethan replied, sliding a folder across the table. There are photographs, timestamps, and even details of their conversations. This is going to help build our case. I opened the folder, my breath catching in my throat. There she was, laughing, leaning against Brian in a way that felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I can't believe this, I whispered, feeling sick. She was lying to my face all along. We can use this to demonstrate that she's not fit for custody, Ethan said, his tone firm. The courts look for stability, and this is a clear indication that she's not providing it. Will it be enough? I asked, doubt creeping in. What if she plays the victim? Ethan leaned forward, his eyes locking onto mine. You need to be ready for that. She'll likely try to twist the narrative. Just remember, you have the evidence. Stick to the facts, and don't get emotional. I nodded, steeling myself for the battle ahead. I won't let her take Liam away from me. As the court date approached, I found myself in a constant state of anxiety. The nights were filled with restless sleep, and during the day, I replayed every moment, every conversation, trying to prepare for what lay ahead. I knew I had to keep my emotions in check, but the thought of facing Sarah in court felt unbearable. On the morning of the hearing, I sat in the waiting area, nervously tapping my foot against the floor. Ethan had gone in to speak with the judge, and I was left alone with my thoughts. I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, and doubt gnawed at my resolve. Finally, Ethan returned, a determined look on his face. We're up next. Are you ready? No, I admitted, my stomach churning. I don't think I can do this. You can, he said, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. You're doing this for Liam. Focus on him. You've got the evidence, and you're not alone. Remember, this is about protecting your son. Okay, I breathed, taking a moment to center myself. I'll do it. As we entered the courtroom, the tension in the air was palpable. Sarah sat across from me, her expression unreadable, but I could see the hint of defiance in her posture. She was ready to fight, and so was I. The battle lines were drawn, and I was prepared to defend my family with everything I had. The courtroom felt like a battleground, and as I sat there, my heart raced with anticipation and dread. The hearing had lasted hours, but to me, it felt like mere minutes and an eternity rolled into one. The evidence we had gathered, Sarah's testimony, and the judge's demeanor all swirled in my mind. I focused on Liam, who was safely with my parents for the day, oblivious to the turmoil around him. He was my anchor, the reason I had fought so hard. When the gavel finally came down, the judge's words rang in my ears. The court awards full custody of Liam to you, Mr. Hayes. Mrs. Hayes, due to the evidence presented, you are denied spousal support. The air was thick with silence as I processed the ruling. A mix of relief and disbelief washed over me. I had won, but the victory felt bittersweet. As I exited the courtroom, Ethan was waiting for me, a proud smile breaking across his face. You did it. You stood your ground, and it paid off. I couldn't help but let out a shaky laugh, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. I can't believe it. It feels surreal. You deserve this, he said, clapping me on the back. You fought hard for Liam, and it shows. Yeah, but what about Sarah? How is she going to take this? I asked, a knot forming in my stomach at the thought of her reaction. She'll be upset, no doubt, Ethan replied, his tone serious. But remember, you did this to protect Liam. That's what matters now. As the days passed, the reality of my new life began to settle in. I moved Liam back in with me, and we established a routine. I reveled in every moment with him, from our breakfast rituals to our evening story times. But in the quiet hours, I felt the weight of the emotional aftermath. One evening, while Liam was in the bath, I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. My phone buzzed, interrupting my thoughts. It was a text from Sarah. Can we talk? I need to see Liam. A wave of anger surged through me. The last thing I wanted was to see her right now. I replied quickly, my fingers typing out each word with force. You had your chance. You made your choices. Moments later, my phone rang. It was Sarah. I hesitated but ultimately answered. Please, just hear me out, she said, her voice trembling. I know I messed up. I need to talk to you about Liam. I don't think that's a good idea, Sarah, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. You made your choices, and now I'm focused on what's best for him. Can't we at least discuss a plan? I want to be involved, she pleaded. You want to be involved? I shot back, anger boiling over. You were out with Brian while I was taking care of our son. What kind of mother does that? Things have changed. I realize I made a terrible mistake, she said, her voice breaking. I want to do better. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of our past between us. What you want doesn't matter anymore. I have full custody now. I have to think about Liam's well-being first. Please, don't shut me out. I can change, she begged. No, Sarah. I need time. Liam needs stability, and right now, that doesn't include you, I said firmly, ending the call before she could respond. The next few weeks were filled with a mix of joy and tension. Liam thrived in our new routine, but I could see the shadow of the separation affecting him. He occasionally asked about his mother, and each time, I felt a pang of guilt. One night, as I tucked him into bed, he looked up at me with wide, innocent eyes. Daddy, when can I see Mommy again? My heart sank. I didn't want to break his spirit, but I had to be honest. I'm not sure yet, buddy. Mommy is going through some things, and right now, we need to focus on us. He frowned, a hint of confusion crossing his face. But I miss her. I know, Liam. It's okay to miss her, I said gently, brushing a stray hair from his forehead. But we need to make sure that when you see her again, it's the right time. Do you think she'll come back? he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I hope she does, but it's important that she's ready to be a good mommy, I replied, my heart heavy with the truth. For now, I'm here for you, and I love you more than anything. Love you too, Daddy, he said, snuggling deeper into his blankets. As I left the room, I felt a mixture of sadness and resolve. I had fought for our family, but the aftermath of that battle weighed heavily on my heart. I knew I needed to be strong for Liam, even if it meant facing the pain of Sarah's absence. A few weeks later, Ethan called to check in. How are you holding up? He asked. Some days are better than others, I admitted, leaning against the kitchen counter. Liam is doing great, but I feel like I'm in a constant state of flux. I worry about how this will affect him long term. Totally understandable, Ethan replied. But you're doing everything right. You're providing him with stability, and that's crucial. Have you thought more about your next steps regarding Sarah? Yeah, I know we'll need to discuss visitation at some point, I said, rubbing my temples. But I want to make sure she's ready to handle it responsibly first. Smart move, he said. Just take it one day at a time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Thanks, man, I said, grateful for his support. I don't know what I'd do without you. Anytime. Remember, I'm here for you and Liam. We'll get through this together, he assured me before hanging up. With each passing day, I began to realize that while the battle was over, the journey was far from finished. I was committed to rebuilding our lives, brick by brick, even if it meant facing the heartbreak of Sarah's betrayal. Liam deserved a future filled with love and stability, and I was determined to give him just that, no matter how difficult the road ahead might be. The end of our relationship marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would fight to protect the bond one had with my son, even in the face of uncertainty. I could not erase the past, but I could ensure that our future would be brighter.